I mean, we all know that. Even for the affluent in America, yeah, they can get by and they'll live pretty much the way they always lived. But for the working men and women and the poor, boy, it's devastating times. Yet most poor Americans vote for the people who have imposed the tough times upon them. And a lot of working class people do too. And it is always rattling around my mind, how much pain do we have to suffer before people start to wise up? And that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Here's the essential problem so that you understand it. The Democratic Party spends trillions of dollars unnecessarily. Since Biden has been in office, less than 2 years, $5 trillion in spending added to the national debt and to the budget. $5 trillion in less than 2 years. Unsustainable. What does that mean? It means that the economy is going to collapse if this continues because we don't have the money. The United States doesn't have the money. So we print more money. And that brings down the value of the money in circulation. That's inflation. Yet 90% of Americans don't understand it and won't take the time to learn it. And I'm sitting here going, how many people are you going to vote for on the liberal side that are absolutely going to continue this? So Warnock will likely win today in Georgia. Okay? He's almost a communist, this guy. That's how extreme left he is. Yet all the networks are behind him, Slash and Walker, not even mentioning any negatives on the Warnock side. And, and then people are sitting there at home watching this stuff. They don't know. So there comes a point where Americans, working and poor, we're just going to have to go into insolvency. They're not going to be able to pay the rent. And we have food insecurity now in many places where people can't feed their children because they don't have enough money. Because everything that they had 2 years ago has gone up 40%. I mean, and I'm not exaggerating here, not everything, but a lot of stuff. So there's a new Gallup poll out, 1,822 adults, okay. Very simple poll. Have recent price increases caused any financial hardship for you and your household? Yes, 55% of the nation. 55%. Yet the midterms weren't a repudiation of the people who have brought this on the country. 2 years ago, this time, everybody was singing a song. Economy was robust, no inflation. Okay? So this isn't an opinion. Second question is that severe hardship affecting your ability to maintain your current standard of living. Okay? No, my standard of living is going down. It's a severe hardship, 13%. So maybe that's the problem, that the pain that's being inflicted on us hasn't reached the point where most people's standard of living has changed. And you know why? Because they can credit everything. So whatever you used to buy, you still buy and put it on a credit card, but your debt mounts and mounts and mounts, just like the U.S. debt mounts and mounts and mounts. And now we got another thing coming. We've got to refurbish our military in the Pacific to deal with China. That's going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars. We have to. So that's coming. You think that Biden administration would know it's coming and then start to cut back in other places? Yeah. They throw tens of millions of dollars around like they were quarters. Yet again, people continue to vote for this. Yes, they think they're voting their own self-interest because of the entitlements they may get back. Now, COVID, yes. I mean, we all know that COVID devastated everything in this country. And Trump and Biden, and Trump was a big spender, by the way. He's a very big spender, but not at the Biden level. And Trump and Biden had to sign these bills that gave Americans financial relief. Okay. But you don't do that continually. This Inflation Reduction Act is absurd. Is the amount of wasteful spending that goes into the pockets of private corporations to develop green stuff is in the billions, heavy billions. Nobody knows it. They don't pay attention to the Inflation Reduction Act. You go out on the street, I guarantee you, you ask 10 people what the Inflation Reduction Act, no one will know. Okay, so we're heading for Armageddon here in the next, if the Democrats win the presidency in 24, there will be a collapse. Okay, that's the memo. Now, Biden goes off to Arizona today. No reason why. No reason at all. Because the hot spot is Georgia, but the Georgia Democrats don't want him there. Because he would take votes away from Warning. So he goes to Maricopa County, Phoenix, to do nothing. I mean, they're unveiling some green thing there. Okay, good. He didn't have to go there. Now, this costs us, the taxpayer, millions of dollars for him to go and come back. But an interesting question was asked by Peter Doocy of Fox News. Roll the tape.
Why go to a border state and not visit the border?
Because there's more important thing going on. They're going to invest billions of dollars in a new enterprise.
What a bunch of bull. All right. So Phoenix is about, 120 miles away from the border. Easy helicopter ride. He didn't want to go to the border. Why? Because that brings attention to the border. And Biden will never go to the border. I shouldn't say that. They might be forced to, but he hasn't gone because it'll bring attention to the catastrophe of the border. But at least Doocy would ask questions like that. I mean, you think every White House correspondent, no, they don't care. All right, this Twitter thing in Biden. So once again, the Democratic Party's allies, the corporate media, with the exception of Fox News, they rallied around to suppress the Elon Musk story. So the Elon Musk story essentially is that Twitter suppressed information before the 2020 vote that would have hurt Biden. So now the mainstream media is suppressing the suppression. It was asked again by a Fox News correspondent, why or what does Biden think about it? Go.
That is full of old news, if you think about it. And at the same time, Twitter is facing very real and very serious questions about the rising volume of anger, hate, and anti-Semitism on their platform, and how they're letting it happen. And, the president said last week, more leaders need to speak out and reject this. And it's very alarming and very dangerous.
All right, so you see the strategy there. We're not going to mention the suppression of the Hunter Joe Biden story, we, the White House. Every time you ask about it, we're going to tilt off into there's hate speech on Twitter and we condemn it. See, this is called spin. That's what they do, all right? They being the media people in the White House. But they're not the big spinners. There's a group at K Street in Washington, D.C., a Democratic group. It's actually a few of them that every morning holds a conference call, and then they give directions to the news agencies and other people on how to deal with certain stories. But it was clear that Jean-Pierre had been coached. If you're asked about the Twitter suppression Elon Musk story, this is what you do. You say, it's old news and nothing new there, but Twitter is full of hate and we're going to... See? That's how it works. All right, so Trump hurt himself again for the, 10,000th time by saying that the election of 2020 was so fraudulent and so fixed that steps have to be taken to reinstall him as president, even if those steps negate some parts of the Constitution. That's essentially what he said. So that was not received well. And then he realized that that was not a good thing to say, so he's issued a clarification. And here it is. A massive fraud of this type and magnitude. Okay, I'm sorry. I was reading the original statement that I told you about. Here is the repudiation of the original statement. The fake news is actually trying to convince the American people that I said I wanted to terminate the Constitution. This is simply more disinformation and lies, just like Russia, 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 and all the other hoaxes and scams. What I said was that there is a massive and widespread fraud and deception, as has been irrefutably proven in the 2020 presidential election. Steps must be immediately taken to right the wrong, unquote. Okay, that's essentially what he said, but then he brought in the Constitution. The quote was, this fraud allows for termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. You can't say that. But the essence of what Trump was getting at was, I don't think his repudiation statement was dishonest. He just left out the part that he shouldn't have had in there in the first place. There is a concerted effort to intimidate and silence conservative thinkers, rewrite American history, and replace our God-given individual liberty with big government controls. The very freedoms secured by our Constitution are now being threatened by the most liberal leftists our nation has ever seen. They have failed to secure our borders, weakened our position on the global stage, are trying to indoctrinate and corrupt our children in school, and the list goes on and on. But there are plenty of patriots with the courage to stand up to the far left. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization in the USA. I am a member, and I hope you will join as well. AMAC members have access to money-saving benefits, a robust website and mobile app, and a magazine filled with all kinds of great content. So please join AMAC today at amac.us and tell them O'Reilly sent you. That's amac.us. Okay, now, one of the reasons, perhaps the primary reason for all this theft, is drug addiction. So if you are a drug addict, then you know this. You've got to generate money to buy narcotics, and you can't work because you're stoned all day long. Okay, so there are a few ways to generate money illegally. You can be a prostitute. You can sell drugs, but that's a dangerous area. Or you can steal. And that's what the majority of drug addicts do. And this is backed up by every study you've ever read. Okay, so drug addiction is now rising in America. It's not falling. It's not like tobacco use. And the reason it's rising is because there's no condemnation of it. So if you are a heroin addict or fentanyl or whatever it may be, you have a disease. And so that gives you an excuse. And also society an excuse not to deal with you. So the liberal bent, the progressive wing, says they have a disease, so it's okay for them to commit crimes every single day, hurt people every single day. They can do that because they have a disease. Why? That's just insane. You got a disease, you got to cure it, or you die. And that's why so many people die from drug overdoses. But there's no attempt to make the disease, drug addiction, a mandatory situation. And most of these drug addicts don't want to kick it. They like living in a state of inebriation. Enter marijuana, which obviously is now going to be legalized soon everywhere in this country. I shouldn't say everywhere. There might be some jurisdictions that hold out. But youth marijuana use, okay, is up. And this is a study from the National Poison Data System from January 1st, 2000 till December 31st, 2020, almost 2 years ago, and it's worse now. So youth marijuana, all right, exposures 6 through 18, 6, up 245%. This is a disaster because this creates more drug addicts. Now, I know many pot users, and a lot of them have the man buns and the ponytail, and they say to me, I use marijuana all the time, doesn't affect me, I am not a drug addict, leave me alone, I want to buy the pot, it helps my elbow, whatever it may be. Okay, all right, I'll take your word for it, that constant use of an inebriant has not hurt you. I don't believe that, but I'll believe that I don't want to intrude on your high. But the children, as a former high school teacher, I saw what happened, boy. It's devastating. And yet our society, our country, that's never raised. Pot is cool. And so while alcohol use among the urchins is going down, all right, pot is going up crazy up. Now, you don't think that's going to have an effect 10 years, 15 years down the road? It will. I tell my son, look, and he doesn't use drugs, and I would know if he did. There's nothing we can do about this other than to reject it because it's bad for you and it's bad for society. It's bad for the country, this pot thing. There's nothing good comes out of this. But for you, the non-drug user, the non-alcohol abuser, this is going to afford you a tremendous advantage because this country is rapidly evolving into two stratas. The people who have no shot to attain the American dream because they're stoned or they're lazy or they won't learn or they don't want to work hard or whatever it may be. No shot. That group is increasing. Whereas the fewer people who are motivated and they're sober, they're going to rock it. They're going to prosper because they're going to be the exception. And I think that's the best message that children can get from their parents. If you want to succeed in life on all levels, personal, professional, whatever it may be, stay away from this. This will rob you of motivation, this intoxicant world, okay? That's the best argument. You think that's made in any public school? I don't know of any public school. Yeah, they bring in speakers that say, oh, I went through hell and then I had to kick it and don't do it. But they don't really give you the big picture. You're in this world, you go into that world, and nobody forces you into that world. That's why the disease thing is a little questionable. All right? Nobody forces you. I do believe that certain people, my family certainly, are more susceptible genetically to addiction, which is why I've never I've never drank alcohol in my life. And of course, I've never taken a drug. And I get mocked all the time. You can imagine my friends. But anyway, this is a fairly long sermon here, but it's so important and people don't know it's important because the media will never, ever, 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 ever cover it. Okay, Lady Gaga, you remember, February 24th, 2021, her dog walker, Ryan Fisher, 41 years old, took the rock star's dogs out for a walk. He was accosted by two people, James Jackson, 19-year-old, and his accomplice, Jalen White. Okay? Jackson shot the dog walker, shot him, and they kidnapped the three dogs. Now, this is terrible because Ryan Fisher still has ongoing wounds from this, 2 surgeries, has breathing problems, numbness, and nerve damage. All right, so now, yesterday, this guy was sentenced, Jackson, and he gets 21 years in prison. So he's 19, he's out at 40, and he'll get out earlier than that. 21 years. He didn't kill the dog walker. In California, that's a harsh sentence, and it should be. Now, this is an interesting part of this story. A woman named Jennifer McBride. So a few days after the dogs are kidnapped, she brings the dogs back to the cops because there was a let's see, how much was the reward? It was like Big reward. Trying to find it here. I can't find it. Anyway, Lady Gaga offered a lot of money to return the dogs, and she did. But of course, the cops like one look at her and said, where'd you get the dogs? And she had no story. So she's charged too. She's not going to get any jail time. She's an accessory and receiving stolen property. So that was a big headline story. I wonder how many news agencies are going to follow that up. I thought it was interesting. Inflation at its highest level in 40 years. Interest rates skyrocketing. We all know that. Market experts like Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, not only predict a recession, but are using scary terms like economic hurricane and unprecedented. So you need to call the only precious metal dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. They will show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. Please call them today, and they will have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA or 401k. They have thousands of satisfied customers. They're the highest rated firm in the country with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they'll give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. Please call 866-501-5201, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Again, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Okay, so here's the final thought. Less than 3 weeks before Christmas, and my spies tell me that donations, charitable donations, are way down because of the inflation and the economy. Now, I haven't been able to verify that fact because the numbers aren't in yet, but that's the word on the street. And, you know, when you donate money, you have to be very careful about who you give it to and what they're going to do with it. So what we have done here at BillO'Reilly.com is I have a foundation, the William and Winifred O'Reilly Foundation. And we give away millions of dollars, and we've been doing that for, 15 years. But we do not take any money for the foundation. And we don't expense anything from the foundation. It's all, we have a foundation, I put money in it, and we donate to worthy enterprises. So BillO'Reilly.com store goes right into the foundation because that's profits that we make. And what we have done is, the store is very popular. But rather than think that all this money is coming to me, that you're spending at BillO'Reilly.com Christmas store, it's not. It's going to help people, and I am vigilant about who gets that money. So that's the true spirit of Christmas, donating to people who need help. But we go the extra mile, though we don't, just give money because somebody asked for it. No. So we are in business to help you. Number one, those gifts in the BillO'Reilly.com Christmas store are great. You'll love them. And the people who get them from you will love them. But I designed this thing so nobody, we're not going to do that. People giving us money. You know who does that? The Clinton Foundation. They take money from all kinds of people. And I just went, and they use the foundation's finances to travel around. We never do that. So I want you to know it. I want to help as many people as I can this Christmas, Hanukkah. If you go to the Christmas store, I will like you very much. And we will be back tomorrow with another episode of the No Spin News. See you then. If you are stuck in a timeshare and you haven't called Lone Star Transfer yet, what are you waiting for? Lone Star Transfer has helped more than 16,000 happy customers. They are family owned, have a 99% success rate, Their process is done legally, ethically, and quickly. I mean, does it get better than that? The team at Lone Star Transfer will keep you informed every step of the way until you are legally and permanently released from your timeshare. So don't pay another penny for a timeshare you don't use. Get peace of mind today with Lone Star Transfer. They guarantee the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. Give Lone Star Transfer a call for a free no obligation consultation. 855-551-7066, 855-551-7066, or online at lonestartransfer.com.